Just a minute. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anne Oluwapafolabi, and I'll be the moderator in today's webinar session. I am excited to welcome us to another exciting capacity building session, which is aimed at improving research participation, especially among clinicians. So I implore everyone on this call to please call a friend, both clinician and non-clinician, so that we jointly participate in this session and embrace the knowledge and apply the knowledge which we'll be gaining therein. Participants are muted as they join, and we would appreciate that everyone stays muted unless it's necessary to talk at any point. After the presentation by the speaker, we will be taking the Q&A session where participants will be allowed to unmute themselves to ask their question. However, if you have any question to ask during the course of the presentation, you may kindly drop it in the chat box and we will deal with them subsequently. Without further ado, I'll proceed to introduce our speaker for today. Dr. Oladimeji Adebayo is a renowned cardiologist and research fellow with exceptional academic and research credentials. He has published over 200 peer-reviewed articles in top-tier journals such as The Lancet, Nature, PLOS ONE, and the New England Journal of Medicine, with more than 80% of these publications preceding his academic appointment. He has published book chapters, books, and monographs as a clinician. His research interests include health systems research, medical education, clinical epidemiology of cardiovascular diseases, psychosocial issues in cardiovascular diseases, and preventive cardiovascular medicine. Dr. Adebayo serves as a peer reviewer, board member, and an academic editor for many journals, including PLOS ONE. Dr. Adebayo has bagged 10 honors and awards in Nigeria and globally, and he is currently affiliated with the University College Hospital, Ibadan, Nigeria, as well as the Institute of Cardiovascular Disease, the College of Medicine, University of Ibadan, Nigeria. Okay, so Dr. Adebayo, I would be handing over the microphone to you so that you take over from this point. Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Anu, and thank you. Good morning, everybody. I hope I'm very audible.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, I think you should give me the right to share.
You have the right already, sir.
To share, all right.
Thank
Oh,
you.
great. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure everybody can see my screen.
I can see your screen. Please put it in slideshow mode, sir.
I think I should share it. Oh. Okay. Okay, I'm sure it's very, very clear now.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good morning once again, and I thank Plus-Circle Community Health Advancement Organization for inviting me. And in the next few minutes, we are going to be discussing and also interacting on overcoming barriers to research participation among clinicians. I must really thank this organization for inviting me because this is a topic that I think is necessary to discuss and to interact. I'm sure most of us here are clinicians, and I'll be sharing things some of us are aware of, some things that are not clear, and something I myself probably will be learning from. This is the outline I'm going to follow. Introduce, well, with the background, barriers to research participation, strategies to overcome these barriers, call to actions and conclusion. But before I go on, I must make a disclosure. One might be tempted to want to feel, oh, he's also having a faculty affiliation. But bulk of what I've done as I've been previously highlighted was when I was a clinician. So because I'll be saying things to ginger us and to encourage us to probably encourage us to participate more in research, even as the clinicians. As you go on, you see some of these things I'm going to say. Before, first of all, I'm going to charge us. Then I'll talk about the barrier. That's the bitter one afterwards, so that you will not say, oh, this person is coming to come and tell all the sweet part, but the core of the matter, I didn't say it. But I'll first ginger us. I'll first say some things that I have strong conviction that probably before even joining the academics, those were things that stimulated me as a clinician. So most of us as clinicians, even non-clinician working in hospital environment, we spend day-to-day hours, millions of hours caring to various number of patients. But interestingly, what we do for those patients are just direct translation of countless basic research advances. In a way, we are consumer of research outputs as clinicians. When you decide to give a patient digoxin, when you decide to write the cervical cervix in a particular way, they are just following what's consuming a product of research. And you are expected to, because as you are consuming, I think it's also morally or ethically right or expected of us to also participate in research. Because even as you go on, as you see, there's no way as a clinician you are actually needed to help systematically collecting those data because you are in the first place seeing the patient. So collecting those data, and even you as a clinician, you need to do a lot of clinical audits. In that way, you improve your distance. Our M&M that we do is a form of audit, although we might not publish it. But interestingly, there's what we do in Ibadan here, we call the chart review, which is in a way morbidity and mortality of Massachusetts General Hospital, which they publish in New England Journal of Medicine. And that's a form of a audit. It's a form of presenting clinical education, continuous medical education, and other things. And also, as a clinician, indirectly we generate research questions. The drug company comes to present, and so we observe this in our patients and drugs. And they go back, they tell their RMD, that's the research development unit, that this is what the clinicians are giving us as feedback. Then also, there's some people here that I know are participating. We do participate in research. We do a lot of it. We help them to collect data and other things like that. So, in going on, I must say that research participation among clinicians is very, very important, as I've said, and I've pointed out to advancing medical knowledge and improving patient care. And when we engage as clinicians, whether collaborating or standing alone as clinicians, will help to contribute to development of new treatment, diagnostic tools, and preventive strategy. Now, I decided to bring out this thing. That's the highest award you can get as a scientist, as a researcher, as someone that is an innovator. Because essentially research is just bringing forth new ideas or rearranging old ideas into new methodologies, into new outcomes, into new ways of doing things and other things like that. And Nobel Prize, there was this very interesting paper by Ashrafian, it sounds Iranian, um, with his colleague, where they published in Journal of Royal Society of Medicine, Nobel Prize in Medicine, are clinicians out of fashion. Even as it is appearing that we're out of fashion, they tend to give Nobel Prize more to people that are non-clinician, well, not doing clinical research, but basics medical research, trying to find basic molecules, trying to develop new drugs, new ways of managing patients. They still said that 25% of the prize were awarded in the last 30 years to people that can be described as clinicians. Well, as different from 79% in first 30 years were awarded to clinicians. But I still say that contribution and development and contribution to science can actually be from clinicians. And look at this table that I brought. I'm sure those of us in any specialty or any field of training, we will discover that there are quite a number of clinical trials, and the clinical trial change therapy and management of patients. I must tell you that if you look at it, most of them are very, very, instrumental in changing the way we practice and things like that. But I must also say at the back that quite a number of these data in clinical trials are actually collected by clinicians in a way. So let me put some face to this. Most of us may know this man, Oviamu Ovaji, who invented the blood transfusion mechanism. He's a Nigerian. I decided to start with a Nigerian so that you not accuse me. Accuse me of saying, oh, I'm putting white man first. So I decided to put a black man, Oviamu Ovaji, who invented autologous blood transfusion. The man was never, I did my background check. I never saw where he was actually affiliated to any academic institution. He was just a military clinician. He was retired as a brigadier general. Well, I'm sure he's making money from it now, this autologous blood transfusion, most likely. Well, he was just a clinician working in a military setting. Then another man I like to point out is Patrick Christopher Steptoe. Those people in ORG will know this man. He pioneered so many things. He's a renowned obstetric and gynecologist. He never really worked most of his life, even for what he could have collected a Nobel Prize for, was never. His partner that he worked, because he collaborated with an academic clinician, academic physiologist, to pioneer the in vitro fertilization, well, the laparoscopy in vitro fertilization. He was just practicing in Oldham and District General Hospital and Bonham Hall Clinic. In fact, before he died, they celebrated 1,000 of in vitro fertilization babies in that Bonham Hall Clinic that he developed. He pioneered it. Laparoscopy, he pioneered using very hot lamp, even before all these new laser techniques that we develop today. They are just clinicians. They are like everybody that's not in an academic setting and not aspiring to be a professor, because it's very, very important I clarify it. But they brought new things. They brought new things that people in academic clinicians will be doing more research, or they will now come and be writing knowledge practice of laparoscopy or in vitro fertilization. But it was a clinician that actually developed this stuff. Now, I'm also coming back home. Apologies if this is the best picture I got. I got it on Wikipedia, actually. It might sound familiar to most of us, particularly most of us in Ibadan, but he's an international man. He was a clinician. He's a surgeon. And look at this publication. He pioneered so many things. And if you look at the lower part of this, his affiliation is not University of Ibadan, University of Jos, or University of Maiduguri, or this. Is a primary health center, or well, maybe a secondary to an extent, which is just in the rural. It's even bearing his name. So I think with this background, that will inspire us as we go on, to even of some of these barriers will be pointing out, because I'm going to point out barriers that some of us will connect with. Additional thing is, if you do research, it will help our critical thinking, problem solving, evidence-based practice. Because most times we are the one, not clinicians, clinicians not in academic settings, are the one that see most of these patients. Look at this data by LADA in America. 80% of MIs are in US are treated in non-teaching hospitals. Are treated in non-teaching hospitals. That means they are not even probably most likely affiliated to any academic environment. So if I want to do a study in MI, of course I have to relate to clinicians. If I don't relate with them, and if I want to do a multi-dimensional study, I must relate with clinicians. So what are the other benefits? I'm aware that from your research, without having to be a professor, you can go from there to an entrepreneur, just like the Step2 man, Mr. Step2. In fact, it's called Mr. because it belongs to the Royal Society of, because it's a surgeon. And also, the entrepreneur opportunities after they started the born clinic. There are so many people that develop new ideas from just their research, and after some clinical practice, they translate and other things. Then also, if there's anything that can get you to United States on a skill pathway, is being actively involved in research. I discovered that recently. It was a time somebody saw my profile, sent an email to me that, oh, I could get even American citizenship based on my CV alone and stuff. And another very senior person, a professor of repute, an international person, also said, oh, look at your CV is very wonderful. Um, that's even without any academic credential except maybe a master's. They say, I will get. So those are the other benefits. The other benefit is satisfaction. More people know you. Your clinical practice will just be maybe your immediate circle. But someone in Japan will probably know you. Maybe you have a pattern, maybe you even published a paper. It might be something very basic, just describing your practice. And somebody in Japan say, oh, we'll modify it, stuff like that. So I'm coming home to, as I go on, I thank you. I see that there's somebody from Yemen. So I'm actually talking to an international community. And I think I will probably situate some of these things in international community. But pardon me if I'm using more of Nigerian data, because I'm sure bulk of my audience is um, data from this. When I was a resident, I was a PI, and that was the first one of the very engaging relationship I have with one of the promoter, the chief promoter of this organization, as a person of Professor Ilisomi. Um, he was our advisor there, and I was PI of this study. We call it chatting, challenges of among residents in Nigeria. And we actually, that's what we were studying. First phase, we recruited almost 800 and something. Second phase, we recruited another 700. And we published one of these paper there, trying to look at residents. You see, research actually looking at research barriers, engagement among clinicians are more concentrated among residents. You rarely see paper trying to look at it among other doctors. Well, maybe particularly in Nigeria, they tend to look at it more among us because those are areas where you can have direct transitional changes. So they tend to look at it. And we discovered that most residents will have participated in a research work anyway, large number, any research work, 85%, that's what we found there. However, when it comes to following up, presenting their work, you start seeing the number going down, where first author in peer review journal, it start going down, published any research work in any local journal, it start going down, published in international journal, it gets well down again to an extent. Then research work in any funding, it gets terrible when it comes to funding because aside that they are clinicians, they are also in early phase of their career where they don't have enough mentorship and stuff. So there was another work, interesting work that was similar to our own, then by Ozomena in the East. They actually looked at about 3 residency training centers and also saw the same thing. A large number have done participated in the previous research, almost in the past, even currently, almost 4 out of every 5 passed. I hope I'm still very audible. And
Yes, you are.
yeah, any presentation of their work, because presentation of work in conference is a form of getting your research output out and other things. And this we also found when it comes to deeper engagement, where your visibility of your work, we found very terrible statistics. So what are the barriers to research participation? Um, they include personal barriers. We talk about personal barrier, lack of resources, time constraint, knowledge and skills gap, institutional and cultural barriers. These are very, very key broad aspects. I'm sure maybe during Q&A, we'll probably discuss other ones, but I'm just going to talk about those ones that I've tried to anecdotally and based on literature to classify and identify. You know. And before I go on, I would also like to just share this slide from Uzomena and his team using Southeast. Well, when they saw that lack of research funding is a key determinant, lack of protected research time, and lack of research mentorship. Well, if you go back to this, you will discover that I have more. Those are, when you look at other centers, you look at evidence from or published data and stuff, you'll be able to get more. But maybe in just that southeastern part, these are the key things that are, statistically significant. So when we look at personal barrier, lack of interest and motivation in research, I've seen people that you tell them, oh, I have a great research. Once it's not even involving money, because some research will fetch you extra income. Some people earn more money from being part of research, even though they are not in academic setting, they don't plan to become professors. They earn quite a significant amount. They earn opportunity to travel and other things from being part of research. Those people that we call researchpreneur, they make a lot of money from research and getting their research out. So, but a lot of people still don't have interest. They are not motivated. Um, Notwithstanding, they are not just motivated. So that's just a personal barrier. They don't see beyond, oh, why should I get involved in research? And it's because they don't know the other opportunities, as I've earlier highlighted and pointed out. There are quite a number of opportunities that goes beyond you don't like Steptoe now didn't end up being a professor. If probably he lived earlier, he would have been awarded maybe Nobel Prize in conjunction with Edward, who won the award for that in vitro fertilization, the Nobel Prize for it. Then fear of failure and rejection. Well, is a very common thing too. People are worried that, oh, everybody's going to read my research work and other thing. And I sent to a journal, they reject because they can actually reject. These are also problems that are faced by academic clinicians and people that are doing research for other things. So it's not just you. Drug companies spend a lot of money on research and it may never get to the market. They spend money, a lot of billions of dollars on research, and it never gets to the market, or it gets to the market and gets rejected. So that's also a problem that is identifiable in other people. But I guess the uniqueness among clinicians is that clinicians will feel, "Oh, why am I even getting involved in it?" Then concerned about work-life balance. We are bothered. The medical school trains us to, or the nursing school, or to be able to treat patients and participate in patient care. Nobody really bothers. In many medical schools, you probably be 5 or 6 allotted to one research project, or 2 or 3 of you. It's not priority, and you do it during your community health posting in some of the universities. So it's not a serious business. By the time you get to masters, it gets to a serious business in your third semester. If you are doing a full time, you are doing a part time, it's probably in your sixth, fifth semester. So it's not. It's when you get to PhD or terminal degree level, you start getting serious and things like that. And most clinicians will not follow that track. They just stay. And so they never develop that. So their main concern is, well, I have quite a number of patients to see. Why should I be bothered about research? The other thing is heavy workload and patient care demand. Interestingly, those are where you can generate a lot of data. You want to have a large data registry. You are seeing a large number of heart failure patients. You are seeing a lot of pregnancy. You are in more better state or position to generate a big data set, a large registry and stuff like that. But the heavy workload is what you probably see, and patient care demand. Then the another factor, which I will share how uniquely, I also participated in politics, how we're able to resolve it, where some departments in my hospital then were able to adopt it and things. Lack of protected time for research activity, you know. I know in some places you have your research days and stuff like that. That's a form of protected time, but quite a number of places. Okay, how will you justify it for someone in a primary care center where there are things, or a mission hospital somewhere in a rural area? So why do you have a protected time for research activity? Then competing demand is even worse now with all the japa, everybody running away, administrative tasks, and teaching. Then lack of resources, funding limitation, where everybody suffer from this. So I must say, inadequate research infrastructure and support staff. If you practice in some states, when I first started out researching, one of the things you find is, oh, where do you do ethical review? Where do you, do you need a statistician to help you review stuff? Then also as a clinician, you don't have access. I discovered that in the last 1 year, 8 months that I joined the faculty, I have more opportunity to research opportunity, to conference opportunity that I had as a clinician. And I've actually heard that quite a number of times. People not having access, you are not funded, you are not going to be well likely to be funded. Even the TEF fund is more for those in the university. And even those one in the university, for you to be a PI, you must be a senior lecturer. So those research infrastructure, support staff, funding, they are very, very, very serious thing. You need a statistician, particularly, you don't have to have all the skills. You need a statistician, even to put your slide into very fantastic one. You want to go and present European Respiratory Society. You want to go to World Obstetrics and Gynecology Conference. You need those kind of support. And limited access to research training and mentorship. These are things that are being hammered. There's a mentorship program in my hospital, and those are things that quite a number of places I'm aware is lacking. Even where you have those mentorship programs, there's other things, causing problem, not making it attainable for you to have a very effective mentor-mentee bonding. um, Research training too is very, very limited. If you're a clinician and you never pass through the residency training program, for example, in Nigeria, because one of the unique things about residency training program in Nigeria is the fact that you also have opportunity to have a research project done alongside you, because you have a dissertation, which is a very strong component of your final exams. I know it's not like that in, say, in UK or some other countries where the research component is not part of it. So limited access to training. And of course, why they expect you to do dissertation, some training programs will be monitored. These are not available. Then the knowledge and skills gap. Well, this one, I think everybody suffer from it, but the uniqueness among clinicians is that you exit as a medical student, you are a doctor, you have very, very limited research methodology knowledge. Because as I said earlier, many research projects in medical school, the emphasis is not on you being able to do research. Except in now that everybody wants to increase the research component. I will tell you one unique thing they did, it was done in Ibadan here for the medical student, and probably I've gotten many of them to enter great institutions in United Kingdom and US for their postgrad. Lack of confident research skills is another issue, because if you don't have sufficient knowledge, you are likely not to be confident. Unfamiliarity to research ethics and regulation. But this one is a very, very minor problem, because if you want to get a research ethics certificate, there's a training program you're supposed to do on most of the websites, or practically all of them. You are required to train, and they certify you for you to be able to get an ethical approval to do your study. Institutional support and incentive for research is another very, 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 very germane issue. The hospital wants you to collect, to see patients. That's why they employ you. They didn't employ you, they will say, to be doing research. So institution, even when you want to take time off to go for a conference to present your research, the institution, you might not have institutional support. You might not have institutional support to do a field study, for example. You want to take time off to go to the field to collect data. And also, and this stems from culture of prioritizing clinical work over research. The institution say, oh, we are going to just, you need to see patient. By the time you come to clinic on a Monday morning, you see 60 case notes waiting for you. You get to your hospital in a suburban area or a rural area, you see 60 case notes, 50 case notes, and the hospital wants you to see all. The hospital does not expect you to collect data and do anything. In most hospitals, whether you publish or you don't publish, particularly in secondary care level hospitals or facilities, or primary care level hospitals, clinics or facility, nobody expects you to write a paper at the end to get promoted, to have a wage increase or a salary increase. Nobody is really bothered about that. And that's a very serious barrier, because there is no motivation. Money motivates a lot, and I'm sure it motivates most people. So if there is no opportunity for those kind of stimulating external stimulation or internal stimulation for your organization, it goes a long way in not getting most of us to do research. And that's a very significant barrier on, from institutional level. Then limited recognition of contribution to career advancement, as I've said. But interestingly, as you see later, quite a number of things now. I wanted to apply to a fellowship somewhere. There were two tracks. there were the academic track. There was also the clinical track to that fellowship of that organization. And the clinical track also require you to have published paper. That's a international organization. They still expect you to publish paper. And I've seen that pattern in quite a number of places. A fellowship is a clinical issue to a large extent internationally. So, and somebody expects you to also have published paper. So it's not enough for us to actually um, point out all the issues. We say all the issues, we identify the barriers. The topic says barriers, without telling us and discussing how we overcome. So first of all is to promote value and impact of clinical research. I think I started with that to a large extent. I try to identify opportunities that come. If you don't follow an academic pathway, you ended up being a professor, or you become a professor emeritus, or you are recognized, that kind of a thing academically. But there are other opportunities. You have a patent, you get to make money from it. You have a discovery of a tool. Like, for example, medical adherence tool. There's a medical adherence tool that the man will always collect. If you do mistake, you use it to do a study. The man will send his lawyer after you, and you must pay. I did a lot of study on burnout among resident doctors. We collected quite a number of data. And I discovered that the tool that we're using, the burnout inventory that we're using, one of them was not free. That's the Malash. It was never free. We'll pay. For every usage, they will tell you paying for online use is even different from paper use, and you pay. And it was developed by somebody somewhere. So you just see somewhere, you just start getting money. So we need to develop impact. And again, as I said, if you have a practice as a clinician, you are likely to be known around your environment. Or even at worst case scenario, people come from Abuja to come and see you in Irua to see them because you have a special skill. Maybe you can, do a PCI, or you can do a form of laparoscopy that is new cutting edge clinical treatment skills. But you'll be known. But for you to be known even widely is to put some things, do some research and project it and add to the knowledge base, universal knowledge base. So those are the things we need to individually motivate ourselves. And we have to be part of people that will advocate for a supportive research environment. What do I mean by a supportive research environment? It will be individuals, clinicians that will form an ethical committee. So if your hospital, you're in an area where there's no ethical committee and you want to do research, you have to foster it. Those are key infrastructure for research system and ethics committee. You have a shared statistician you use. You pay. Some of the statistical tools are expensive. You share it. It's even cheaper for when you are doing quantitative analysis. You are doing analysis for a quantitative study. These tools like SPSS is cheaper compared to when you are doing for qualitative study, where these tools are much more expensive. You also need to have a supportive research environment. Like, I must again thank the Plus-Circle community because this is a form of supportive research environment. Bringing this topic will support researchers, empower them, and even make us realize, okay, these are the barriers. These are the way we solve the barriers. Then flexible research opportunity to accommodate work-life balance. There is one thing I used to encourage people, my mentees, I used to encourage myself, is a law that I follow. Although I know to confess, um, is to for confess, is to confess that to myself, to our everybody here, that I don't fulfill it all the time, but I try as much as possible. My rule is if I'm going for any conference, of course, I'm going there to acquire new clinical skills, new ideas, new knowledge, improve my clinical skill. But I must always present a research work. I try to do it most of the time. except maybe the time allotted. Like, for example, I went to European Society of Cardiology meeting. I did not present because the opportunity to travel, the funding and support came much, much later, when the close abstract has closed. As the economy is. So those are rules that we apply to ourselves. And accommodating work-life balance, I've told myself that, well, even before I joined the faculty, that I must, as much as possible, go outside, present my ideas, share my ideas. Ideas shared is people will know about it. It's not going to just be in my cranium alone. Then protected time. Now, I'm going to share this about protected time for research activity. At the level of, then as a resident doctor, at the level of Association of Resident Doctors, then we advocated to the management for protected. I know that at the hospital level it was not implemented, but at department level, some departments, I think, latched onto it. So they gave some residents started using more of their research days. So that research day, I'm very sure it may be very difficult now, but I think it's something you can try because I know some centers have a lot of hands to use. You can have a research day. That means that research day, you have it to go and attend to your thesis or any research idea you have. So you don't have to come to the hospital to see patients, to do anything on that day. Then another thing is to have efficient research designs and protocol because your protocols and research design are actually your mark. So you have to do it very well. And another thing I will encourage us to do, if you are still clinicians under training or clinicians under very, very superb researchers, because they are very good clinicians that I know quite a number of them, I follow quite a number of them on ResearchGate that are not academics, but they do very good research. If you have peradventure, you are under.
Hello, Dr. Adebayo.
To get a research assistant. What do the research assistant do? There's some real non-core research tasks that you need to do, that I hope I'm still audible. You need,
Yes, sir.
uh, yeah, people to help you to do. In that way, you'll be able to concentrate on the writing, you're able to concentrate on the supervision, the administration of the research project itself, and to be able to make sure that everything is going to plan. Then in
Hello, Dr. Adebayo. Hello. Yeah, so
So
please let
somebody is saying they are not hearing me. Can you hear me
yes,
now?
we can hear you
You
now.
are still hearing me.
We can hear you
Can you
now.
still hear?
You are back. Your audio is back.
Oh, okay. So I think I probably was not audible when I talk about funding. Is that not so?
Slightly.
Yes. Okay. So funding, I said, it's not just about receiving grant funding, but even the basic one that we have. We must be able to identify it ourselves. We must look out for it. There are funding that are for low income and middle income country. I've seen people joining from other parts of the world. There are funding that are not, you must identify, even in the Western country where they have good funding infrastructure for research, those fundings are still limited. Compare, it's still limited. It's still not that it's infinite resources. So you must identify it. And at our institutional level, we must be able to identify. I know bulk of the research we do in this environment is self-funded. So you must even find a way of, keeping some fund aside and other things. Then improve research infrastructure and support staff. you know, I've said some of those things before, probably identify a statistician for you and you share it among you like-minded researchers. You buy software that you need to do research. Like there's what we do that I encourage us to do, crowdfunding. We have a research idea I want to pull. I look for like-minded, motivated people who pull funds together and we do the research. The research, some of them can, like, I have a research group which is just purely self-funded by everybody. We call it Terry Study. We actually just go to higher institutions, to tertiary institutions. We've done it in two cities, tertiary institutions, Ibadan and Abeokuta. And one of the paper from that place was presented at the International Society of Attention meeting. We even won a grant award, a travel support for that presentation in um, to register for that presentation in Colombia, uh, Cartagena, Colombia. That's last month. Then accessible research, and there are so many things. And we should learn not to use our YouTube to just be watching films alone. There are quite a number of resources for statistics learning, for research methodology, for research writing on YouTube alone. Even on LinkedIn, there are quite a lot more resources. I have one one steps algorithm I printed out was from LinkedIn. I pasted it on my notice board in my office. It helps me and guide me. Well, integrated research training in medical curricula, well, maybe beyond also except to our academics training people here. So it's good that it's part of our curricula. If you are in a research unit, you are already a research unit, please give protected time, incorporate it. Once or two presentations you do on your ground around the hospital, you can include a research training. Workshop and courses are said on methodology and ethics. No ethic board will likely give you an ethical approval without doing the research course. And there's a funding by Professor Adibamo and Co, where they have a bioethic funding, which have done wonderfully help people getting ethical approvals, ethical trainings, and also ultimately getting ethically certified to perform research. Mentorship program, peer support. If you are good in research, if you have published 10 papers, you should be able to mentor somebody. What I do most times for my junior colleagues, trainees, I include them. I learned that from my teachers. Um, what we'll do is when you are going for conference, if you have data sets, you are likely to have data sets. I have data sets at every time. I tell them, okay, go and work on this. We can present. Or I do some part of the work. I bounce it back to them. They work on it. Well, that's a way form of mentorship. And you yourself, I used to tell people, you have to make yourself, like Yoruba says, the child that stretches his hand and elder will carry. You have to make yourself also available for mentorship. Then tackle institutional and cultural barriers. Um, you can tackle it from advocacy point of view if you are not in direct position to change anything by giving protected time to clinicians to engage research, giving them opportunity. Um, I know my hospital then used to give support, even up to now, they give grants. You see, gives grants. There was even some announced 2 weeks ago or last week. They give grants to people, clinicians and non-clinicians, clinicians, academics, to undergo research, to take part, do research, they will fund it. And when they have travel opportunity, you can apply to the management, they fund. Well, I've not known anybody that collected that particular one recently, but I know the research grant and other things. And also in many of the departments, you have training, research training incorporated to departmental level. I can speak for my department. uh, I can actually speak for my department. We have a Monday journal club where resident comes, they present journals. We they must critically review using standard critical appraisal tools to do it. And it's discussed the research tools and also to shift towards valuing research conclusion. There's some societies, very international society, if you don't write paper, they will not give you their fellowship. No matter how many years you say you're a clinician, you've seen 1 billion number of patients, nobody will give you their fellowship. Then integrating our research into our clinical practice. Just audit will improve your clinical practice. Just say, okay, at the end of the year, we see so number. I have a friend who calls me a lot of times to review patients in his facility. He's a pure clinician, he's a clinical entrepreneur. He does not have any interest in any academics. But every year, we see his statistics. Oh, after 1 year, this is the number of babies we deliver. This is the number of cases we saw. This is the number of follow-up we saw. This is a form of research. He is using it to improve his practice. Some people put patient satisfaction survey box in their hospital. Then they will analyze it. I talk when I was a clinical service, they call it clinical in a very big private hospital. Because I spent a lot of time outside before I even decided to come for residency. I was a clinical, a unit that I had. And then I used to do, surveys. Okay, why is this like this? Why is this? How can we improve? How can we do this? It was a form of research, but it's for our own internal consumption. I was not writing paper with that. It was just for my own internal consumption and that. So we should integrate it. We should make efforts. If you're a clinical leader, you must make effort to put it. Okay, we are almost done. So call to action and conclusion. Clinical research participation is highly valued and should be supported, leading to lead to our clinic patient improvement. Aside from improving our patient, it will also improve our medical, contribute, make our contribution to medical advancement. Um, Then also, we have a shared responsibility of individual institution, professional organization to promoting clinical research participation. Now, I would conclude and say, finally, there was an editorial that I read with a team. The authors are there. Some of us here will know these people individually and will know the time we wrote it. Um, those are the very great years of research collaboration network under the National Association of Resident Doctors. So it was a final charge, to research scholarship among early career doctors. And we concluded, and I decided to change it to clinician. You see, I put a picture of a clinician there, where it is the stethoscope. Because I know most of the audience will probably be falling into that category. So in conclusion, there is need to promote research scholarship among clinicians. I've changed it, especially by promoting and scaling up of support for research activity, which has hitherto been weak. So I'm sure that I have succeeded in charging most of us to live here and be a research giant and go on to you can do it. There's no restriction. If you submit your paper, once it's good quality, nobody will ask you whether you are a academic or clinician. Most maximum, they ask you your highest academic qualification. Once you have a good paper and the peer reviews gives a positive outcome, you're likely to get published. So I will probably know you as, oh, paper written by Sule or Lamidi or July or Okechukwu or other people written so where somewhere. If I'm in Japan or in Yemen or in Malaysia, I will not just see it as, oh, that's Professor so paper. So I charge us um, to, um, even though with all these barriers, to move on and be a better research person. These are my references. And I thank you very, very, very much for listening to me. I hope I'm still within the time. I know there have been questions.
Yes.
There have been questions already in the chat box. And once again, thank you very much for listening to me. And I think it has been a very, very wonderful time. I look forward to hearing your own question. I will discuss. I'm sure I'm going to learn. That's my own time to sit back and probably get some fresh insight into some of these issues that we face in our peculiar clinical environment. Thank you very, very, very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adebayo. Colleagues, please let's appreciate him for that amazing session. Yeah, it's been full of insights, and many people on the call have sent in their words of gratitude. So we have a couple of questions, and I'll implore every other person with additional questions to please use the chat box or use the hand raise icon, and I will accommodate you to ask your questions. Okay, so the first question says, is it possible to form an ethical committee in a rural hospital where they probably have just one doctor and one nurse, while other members of staff are non-clinical or administrative staff or laborers? Did you get the question,
Ye-
sir?
Yes, I got it. Very, very fantastic question. Very, very fantastic. I'm not been process of forming an ethical committee before, but I know that on the National Health and Research Ethic Committee, which is in Federal Ministry of Health in Abuja, I have a guideline. And there's a guideline for forming your own committee. In fact, it's not going to be all doctors. You can't have a committee that is all doctors. You must put non-clinician, you must put someone in different background, a religious person, somebody in social sciences, and everything to make it a very, very comprehensive and a detailed. So please just visit the site of National Ethic and Human Research, Ethic Research Committee website, or just Google, you look for the PDF. It's a PDF file and is available. I'm sure maybe some may have been in process of forming, but I am sure that that's an opportunity for us to be able to form. But again, you don't have to invent a new wheel. There is no state in Nigeria that will not have a ethic review board uh, in the ministry, domicile in the State Ministry of Health. So I think what you should do is to look at, because they have jurisdiction over your state. So you don't have to invent a new work. Why not? You already have time constraint. Why do you have to create a new thing? I had a very fantastic friend, a co-researcher who've been in a lot of groups together, who practiced for quite a number of time in, apologies for those people from those areas, Sokoto and Kebbi particularly. But he ended up writing very, very strong paper that have defined his clinical career, a research career from those areas. He started off there and he was always getting the ethical approval. It just goes to the ministry. The requirement require you to get, you can get from the nearest ethical board close to you. So maybe you are working in Arrow now. There's none in Arrow, but in FMC Abeokuta, there's the ethical discipline. I think you can apply. I think you should just visit the side of the NREC and check the requirement. I think I answered that question.
Yes, sir, I think you did. So the next question is saying one challenge in commencing research and indeed, okay, one challenge in commencing research is ethical approval. How does one navigate this?
Okay, I think I've answered that tactically with this
Yes,
previous
I think you have.
response. So I don't think we need
Yes.
to repeat
Okay.
it.
The next question is what are the training opportunity for research ethics course?
Oh, no, I think there's one before. How can one without any knowledge of research start? Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's
so,
right.
well, I think indirectly this presentation, which I'm sure the recording and the slides will be available subsequently, I've answered those questions tactically, you know, I provided answer. You can start by being a mentee to a mentor. Like I get many requests from many people saying, oh, they love to do research with me, and stuff like that. Okay, what interest do you have? I saw somebody recently, she wants to go abroad and she met me. Oh, what background are you? She said she's in nutrition. Okay, I said, fine. Yeah, in nutrition, there's no problem. Think of a topic. I sent some things to her. She came up with a topic as in studying some nutritionals in cardiovascular prevention. You see, that is a win-win. I'm motivated to want to do that research with her. Why? He's talking about cardiovascular disease. And she's also putting one leg in her own field. So I've done a multidisciplinary study by engaging in that. So being a mentee and also try to look at low-hanging fruits. When you practice, there's some basic small data you generate every day. One of the earliest thing I did when I started off was I was in an hospital. The training program never started. I don't want to mention the name of the hospital, but people that have my CV somewhere, someone will know the hospital. But it was a tertiary institution. And what we did was that we started gathering. One of the things we looked at, okay, this hospital that is a rural hospital, what's even the patient disease pattern in our outpatient clinic? So we published that. And that gave us motivation, you know. So those are things I think there are many ways you can start. Look for a mentor, look for low-hanging fruits, research things, basic things, clinical audits in your environment. Okay, you have a very interesting case. In fact, clinical case reports are the field domain. A clinician, that's where domain clinician can easily share. You are seeing a patient, you saw a rare case in your rural hospital, all those long names, jaw-breaking names, and you saw the first case in Nigeria. Nobody, you went online, you see nobody has released on it, but it's available, is present. And you published it, you write it. In fact, clinical case report is a skill. The only place where you should have problems is that most journals will have format already. In your literature review, they are not big deal. And people in family medicine, I think O&G2 already have well-developed skills. Particularly family medicine, they do case report as part of see membership or fellowship exam now. So I think it's an opportunity for you to start. Also, read one or two books. They are very fantastic books. When I went for international conference recently, I saw one book and they say how, very funny titles. This particular one was how to read statistical, this. I still bought it. It was a pinch of my pound sterling then, but I bought it. And I think those are ways you can start. You can look for things around you. First of all, you generate research questions and things like that. It can be simple things, very, very simple things, that why do our patients are usually satisfied unsatisfied? Why is the waiting time in our clinic settings? Those are low-hanging fruit. Patient satisfaction and other things. There are things, quality of life, they are very, very common things that you can. I'm not saying go and be reinventing the ways, but you can develop unique research ideas. That's the first thing. What question? You must answer a question trying to solve a problem. Then from there, you take it on. I think that's the response I will give to that answer, to that question. Thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. The next says, what are the training opportunity for research ethics course?
Well, if you want to collect from NRE, we want to collect. Now, um, let me say the one I'm used to in UCHUI here. We want to collect ethical approval. They normally refer to, there's another one, City. I've forgotten the full meaning now. City, its abbreviation is City. You just go with City Ethical Training. You will get it. City. There's also the NREC page that will refer you to it. There's research, but they won't even give you the certificate without training. So just zero your mind that you'll be trained. And it's an online training program. You can finish within 24 hours. And once you finish within 24 hours, you can start doing your research. And also for case reports, you don't need ethical. You only need consent of that patient. So you can download, like for example, now Pan-African Journal of Medicine will download a prototype for case report, a consent form for the patient. So for ethical report, and you have one case, you can decide to do a case series. You see, you are building your this thing. From case series, you can decide to develop a registry. I don't see why, if you are a specialist here and even you're a clinician, you don't have a registry. You can mount a registry of core disease. If you have a registry, you already have data set, any conferences come, you are ready. They say, oh, we are going to give you £2,000 or dollars to come to UK to come and present if you accept your abstract. If you have a registry, you already have a data. So you see, case report, uh, case series, from case series, you can decide to turn it to a registry. If the number of cases are more. You see, those are things clinicians should do. Or you decide to go to the field. And from the field, you have data sets and stuff like that. So I think that probably answers that.
Yes, sir. Okay, so
So training
something,
opportunity, I've answered that.
yeah,
Yes,
something,
Nigerian Health Research Ethics Committee website. Thank you, Prof, for sharing that.
okay.
Yeah, research grant organization. Well, some of them are very competitive. Some of them are high-end research organization. But you have to be on the lookout. That's one skill thing I learned. You have to be on the lookout. In UIF, in fact, we have one organization that keeps on giving. The office is in biochemistry in UI. They keep on giving, I think it was 100,000 they give. The one they gave recently in UCH was, I think it was 500 per person or 200,000 per person. If you have to keep your heads to the ground. Those are low hanging, some organization around. Then grant don't come only that you should have grant to do the study. Grant also come for travel support. Travel support, like the one I told you now, International Society of Hypertension, they gave different form of grant. Grant to even waive your registration. Grant to travel. They give you grant to travel. There was one, they paid all expenses to Rwanda. I think it was 2019 I went also. They paid all my, I was a resident. I was not a academic staff. They paid the only thing I paid was my visa fee, which was $20. I was gladly I paid it because it was travel opportunity, travel to stay in the best hotel, Radisson Blu and other things like that. I paid. It was not a big deal to me because they've solved most of the problem, and things like that. And there are quite a number of places you went. If you have good data set, you have good data output, somebody is likely to want to fund you, but you must keep your ears on the ground. Now, there are big ones, NIH, there's Wellcome Trust. People get it. Some of us are so smart enough to even be there, to be doing, but we just decide to stay in academics. Of course, the reward, salary is to support. You earn more. You earn more as a hospital consultant and being a consultant. And I know quite a number of people that never join academic because of that. You get more salary and stuff. So, but if you keep your ears to the ground, you get these grant opportunities to able to go for these conferences and be able to pay for research and things like that. There are some usual ones, and you subscribe to some newsletters. They provide it. You make friends with people in the academics too, because there's some things I discovered when I joined the faculty and the Institute of Cardiovascular Disease. I discovered that there are more things I get from the listserv of UI UI itself. There's even a dedicated grants office to support your grants application and things, which may not be available to you if you are just a pure clinician. But if you have friends and you have a network, everything is just about networking. Network people that have this information, they provide this information to you, and you'll be able to get it. So it's about keeping your ears to ground, and I've mentioned some of them. So I think that's where and somebody said, I think mentorship is very important to motivate you. Absolutely, I agree with you. And I think I've mentioned that. So over to you, Ann.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for the detailed responses to the questions. Do we have any other question? Participants, if you would like to ask any additional question, you may use the chat box still or use the hand raise icon. So we shared a link to a survey. Please respond to the survey so that we can know what your priorities are, participants, what your research needs are, and so that we can serve you better by meeting those needs in subsequent sessions. And we also implore you to kindly follow our social media platforms. We share a number of opportunities and would appeal to you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we'll post the videos every week. Likewise, as someone asked on the call, we would be sending the link to this recording using the email addresses with which you registered for today's session. So kindly look forward to receiving the mail. We look forward to having further engagements with you on all our social media platforms. Thank you. All right. Okay, we will do so. Thank you very much, Dr. Adebayo Ladimeji. I'm not sure we have any additional question for today, but I can confirm that I got value for the time I spent here today, and I'm sure every other
Thank
person
you
too.
very much. Yeah,
So we
I appreciate it.
appreciate
Thank you so much.
and we look forward to having you again some other time as you share from your wealth of
All right.
experience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. It's nice being here. And thank you for all the audience for listening to this presentation. I'm sure there will be more information, as I have said, on the social media handles. So I implore us to follow them on their social media handles to get more information. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Goodbye, everyone. We look forward to
All
seeing you
right.
again
Goodbye.
next
Bye-bye.
Bye.